amongst us today who are not only from India, but also from abroad. The entire webinar has been spearheaded and led by our Education Committee members under the leadership of Dr. Subarno Bose, who is the chairman of our Education Committee. Without further ado, I would request Dr. Bose to discuss and to give us the formal welcome address and begin today's discussion. Over to you, Dr. Bose.
Thank you very much, Shobana, and very good afternoon to all the viewers here, viewers and listeners. And right now we are clocking 314 participant, 318. So I think we're looking at over 450 participants, and it's the first time this webinar is been conducted under the Bengal Chamber of Commerce Education Committee, and we are extremely happy and proud to be hosting this. So thank you very much, first of all, for being with us. Very good evening once again. And we all know that we are going through absolutely challenging times. Unprecedented things are happening, crazy things are happening. And I think education is one thing shown a lot of positiveness in a world absolutely sunk in negativity and everything going down. I think one thing that's really going strong is education. And whether it's from India or Europe, seen that education, which is fantastic. Education has not stopped, and the students actually are loving it. Are you? So I think it is really a great occasion for us, because in this kind of a situation, online training has come in a very big way. We are actually into the flip and the blended learning, where we are trying now to do a lot of online things all over the world. And all our stakeholders of Bengal Chamber, who lead some of the universities and the institutions in the country, are doing their best to make sure that online focus, online learning is going on. Now, I'd like to tell you that this is going to stay. It is not an ad hoc thing. This is not something that we are doing as a knee-jerk reaction to the COVID-19 menace. I think this has taught the educators a lot of things. I think we have leapfrogged 10 years ahead of times. 10 years we have leapfrogged in terms of flip learning, in terms of blended learning, making the technology an integral mainstream part of the learning process. I think this is what is, I think, one positive thing that has happened in the midst of all the thing that's happening all around us. I think it's not just about the education online, but also it's about assessments, about examination, is about a lot of assignments. And I think the flip learning has got a huge advantage, because it supplements so nicely to the classroom learning. It's nothing really like that the classroom learning will stop, but the technology will make the classroom learning blend with the flip learning, whether it's a video, or whether it's online, whether it's an video research, whether it's an assignment to be done online and submitted online, whether it's an assessment done online. So the entire educational paradigm is now going through a huge sea change. And as I say, I repeat that it has put us 10 years.
The microphone is unmuted.
Of using technology for education throughout the globe. I think it's an one good thing that we have discovered, that the education is not limited to the bricks and mortar. I'm sure that a lot of people who run education in our
The
country
host is reserved.
always complain that we need that building the norms of the AICTE, etc. I think all that kinds of things are now becoming. If you have got good faculty, if you have got good people who can really deliver the thing over a Zoom like this or a classroom or a classroom, I think good to go. One good thing, I think the engagement of the digital education, engagement of the online learning, supplementing the offline is much more stronger. In a class of 60 or 70 or 80, there is hardly any engagement. Whereas here, actually, we are doing one-to-one. The person who is doing the learning is sitting with a computer like we are sitting in front of a computer. So it is a one-to-one thing. It's almost like a personalized learning. It's almost like a personalized education, which is much more engaging, which I think breaks all that kind of plain vanilla lecture where the people brain sleeps after 18 minutes and they are more interested to get out. So this is much more simple. It's not so complex, and I think this is going to stay with us. I mean, COVID-19, I'm sure will go, and I told to my message about 2 weeks back that COVID cannot stop us. It can only alter our path. And this is what I think I meant. Innovation and creativity is really taking us and really altering the path for the better in a lot of ways, where education can be delivered at a global thing. Like today, we will have an absolutely a fantastic educator, education scientist, also Professor David Foskett, MBE, with us later in the show. And we never really thought that Professor Foskett can come and teach in our institution. But yesterday, Professor Foskett has organized one and a half hour class, which was unthinkable otherwise. And it was so well taken. I think over 750 students saw the class and they wanted a replay of that, which we have got fortunately. So this breaking the world, this is one flat world now. Technology have broken all that boundaries now. And I think that's the biggest thing, that online education, online training, and as we said, that social distancing has really brought us together. It has made knowledge much more easier, and the standards are much more global and better. So with that, I would like to once again welcome all of you. It's been a great honor, privilege, pleasure as the chairperson of the Education Committee to welcome all of the participants and my fellow speaker here. And before I hand it over to Shumita to take it forward, I must thank Sharbojit, because without Sharbojit, this would not be possible. Thank Sharbojit for your untiring effort in teaching us and everybody. And thank you very much from all of us in the Bengal Chamber Education Committee as we move around and as we move forward. And we move to Mr. Sumit Das Gupta to take it forward. Over to you, Sumit.
Yeah, in the meantime, thank you, sir, very much. It's my pleasure to be assisting you all.
Good evening, Sumit here. Good afternoon for our guests from the UK. But yes, today I think is quite momentous because of the scale at which we've tried to organize this. So if we get directly to what we are here to discuss, the one thing which has come closer in this time of social distancing is knowledge. And that is where we are today, and that is what is under the spotlight today. So I just would quickly introduce the speakers for the day and then get into the discussion. There's Dr. Dhruvajyoti Chattopadhyay, Vice Chancellor of Sister Nivedita University. There's Mr. Simarpreet Singh, Vice Chairperson of the Education Committee of the BCCI and the Director of JIS Group. There's Mr. Miraj Digvijay Shah, Vice Chairperson, Education Committee, BCCI, and Vice Chairman, Governing Body of the Bhawanipur Education Society College. There is Professor Soikot Moitro, Vice Chancellor, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology, West Bengal. There's Dr. Debanjan Chakraborty, Director for East and Northeast India, British Council. Dr. Antonius Raghuvanshi, Director, Learning Services, British Council, India. Ma'am Rupkatha Sarkar, Principal of La Martinia for Girls, Kolkata. Ma'am Brotati Bhattacharya, Secretary General, Shikshayatan Foundation and Shri Shikshayatan School. There's Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, founder and mentor of CB classes. There's Aranya Kalia, Assistant Consultant in Theory Consulting. And very importantly, two students joining us today, Amanjeet Kaur from IIHM Bangalore, and our youngest participant today, Meghna Basu from class 5 of Sri Shikshayatan School, Calcutta. Just to follow up on what Dr. Bose said, we are all indebted to Mr. Sharbujit Das, founder and CEO, Sundew Solutions Private Limited, and a key member of the IT committee at BCCI. So if we get directly into today's discussion, I'll start with Professor Dhrubajyoti Chattopadhyay, the Vice Chancellor of Sister Nivedita University. Professor, classroom teaching has hit a kind of pause button in 2020, but do you think online education system as a whole has hit the fast forward button to 2030? We would like your views on this, please.
Let me first thank again Professor Bose and Mr. Dashgupta for giving this opportunity for me to share my views in this point. Now, the first thing I just like to mention that this online education, this system is being there for the last 10 years. And it has not been practiced in its full swing in our country, in many parts of our country. Now, when this necessity, it actually pushed us that no, we have this system and we have to go for it. And thereby, I just wanted to mention that the challenges before all the education is that how to maintain the academics in its proper, to maintain its proper goal. We have to look after the new challenges. And this new challenges is where we are right now, talking about the use of this learning management system. Now, this learning management systems, it has got several platforms from open softwares to the different other platforms, but Moodle software is one of the most robust in our university, but it has never been practiced in a way what we are using it right now. Now, the first thing I just want to mention that these contact classes, there is no replacement for the contact classes. But when the situation actually wants us to go for teaching our students, I find that this online system can be utilized very efficiently. And more we are going into this online system, we could really innovate lot of different types of activities in it. At the very beginning, we thought it's a delivery. Then we can see how we can use the chalkboard, blackboard system also in this online system using, say for example, for me, the big blue button system in the Moodle is a very, very strong system which could be used. Besides that, a lot of people are practicing the Zoom or the Google chats and other things, Hangouts and other things. But one of the most important thing it is coming to me is that we have to be innovative and creative in utilizing this time to find out the different ways of online system of teaching. And this online system of teaching, which we are practicing right now, from the lesson, we have to continue it because I could find, just to give as a point, one, the attendance of the students are much higher. Two, the involvement of students are much better. In normally do not get number of questions, but in these classes, we could see participation of students asking questions. The rates are much higher. So the teaching can be done in a much better way because of the involvement of them are very nice. Third, you can really do and practice assignment-based teaching, where you really understand why the students are actually not getting properly the subject area. So individual care could be easily identified. And fourth point, which I find is very important, it teaches us, for the teachers, the faculty members, that we have to unlearn what we have learned so far. We cannot really, we have to change our mindset to make this system a really useful one. These are the 4 points I just wanted to highlight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before moving on to the next speaker, I just wanted to say that there'll be 2 special addresses from 2 special friends in the UK, Professor David Foskett and Dr. David Graham. Professor Foskett has been a close associate of the IHM, and Dr. Shubhanu Bose said how he has already taken one class yesterday, bridging the gap of distance in that sense. And Dr. David Graham will be joining us from Sheffield Hallam University, United Kingdom. So now if we move on to the next speaker, Mr. Simarpreet Singh. There is a debate now that we are taking emergency steps in order to deal with this present crisis. But do you think just a temporary adjustment or a tectonic? What is the education sector undergoing at the present moment, Mr. Singh? What do you feel?
I think Mr. Singh is on a mute mode. If we can quickly turn unmute mode, we can turn him into a mute mode.
Okay.
Yes. Simarpreet, can you speak?
Hello?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So right now we are facing a very difficult time, and we as a group feel that digital transformation is a must in this today's time. And taking a cue from Dr. Bose and other speakers, we have been following flipped learning and blended learning in the last 3 years. And so when the lockdown happened, so our teachers were more equipped than the others, I feel. From day one, they were able to handle the situation. There were some issues about internet bandwidth, but our teachers have found an innovative solution to combat that issue as well. Here I want to thank our Vice Chancellor, Professor Saikas Maitro. He has been the guiding force behind this. Hello?
You're audible.
Yeah, our Vice Chancellor has been a very dynamic person. He has guided us truly in our journey of being blended learning and flipped learning. Here I want to say one more thing. As an educational institution, our main job is to follow the basic, which is to create a socially responsible citizen of our country. And we are right now mentoring each and every student of ours, as well as the parents, to guide this dark time of our lives. We are making sure that nobody is depressed, nobody is suffering of mental health in this crisis. And we are telling them to socially be involved in other sectors, help the needies, donate wherever possible. And one more thing I want to say, that we are trying for a blended learning of the today's modern teaching and the Gurukul system. Where one-on-one mentoring is very important. Those students who are generally sitting at the back of the class, they don't generally come up to question. But we are finding in the digital classes, they are the ones who are more active, and they are questioning us more, and they are the most eager person to learn this journey. So I feel the digital transformation is a very nice thing. It has already arrived. We were slow to adapt it, but I'm sure after this lockdown, we'll be 10x or 20x, we'll be faster than the other countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Taking off from what Mr. Singh of the JIS group said, if we move on to Mr. Miraj Shah of the Bhawanipur Education Society College. Miraj, what do you think will endure longer? Is it the use of technology or a change in mindset? What do you think is most vital going forward?
Am I audible?
Yes.
Right. I think so my video is disabled. So basically, the way I look at it is that you see the whole course over the last 100 years, the Industrial Revolution, if you say, was divided into 4 parts. The first part was the mechanization part, where the steam and the power engines came in. The second was the mass production assemblies which came in. The third was the computerization and the automation. And now we are in the 4th part of the Industrial Revolution, which is the cyber physical systems. The cyber physical system, which Dr. Bose correctly referred and Sinerpeet referred as blended learning, is the need of the day. There is no escape from this. Having said so, to answer your question, without change in mindset, no use of technology will prove to be enduring. That is the most important aspect one has to do. A study was done by the Harvard University, and they found that the biggest challenge in the digital transformation by the CEOs was that the people were not adapting to that digital transformation. More than $1.3 trillion was invested, and the CEOs were of the opinion that about 70% of that money was not delivering the required output. So about $900 billion of investments per se was wasted in that sense. So it is very important that especially the governing bodies, the leaders, and the HR, they have to take very strong roles in handholding our manpowers to transit and to come into a positive mind frame where adoption of both the structure of the blended learning has to come in. Unless and until this is not done, the problem of we putting in the energy to put time into the business transformation, but we do not take our teams along with us. If that happens, then this entire transformation, transitions, and all the investments in this will become irrelevant. So what this also calls a lot of responsibility from the top management and the HR departments to come together and really handhold each and every stakeholder. Because unless the organization together does not adopt it, it is very, very difficult for this transition to be sustained. And as Dr. Subharna Bose was very correct, I think so that's the one positive with COVID has given us, that India has moved, or maybe the world has moved 10x or 10 years ahead in terms of the blended learning and the digital platform learning. That definitely has been a gift of COVID. So maybe this negative happened, but this is a gift I feel this we have got. But a lot of responsibility on the leaders of the institutions to get the team along. Because you see, we are now, a very small example I'll quote, like this Zoom conference happening. There have been some teachers who have come to me and said, sharing those news articles that there have been, the Zoom bombing and the Zoom classes are getting into this. So, we should get out of this mindset of 1 million ways of not getting work done. That bridging has to happen, because otherwise, you will have, even your online payment systems are getting hacked. Even your Googles are getting hacked. Even the fan on your head can also fall. So unless we don't get out of this, and I think so, the HR is going to have the biggest challenging times now to push. Only COVID has helped us to, maybe, take this forward. But the HR and the business leaders, and of course the teachers, have to come into this in a very big way. And especially the challenges lie with, I think so, the older teachers who tend to shy away from this. So maybe, phase-wise implementation and things have to be done. So that is my views on this part.
Thank you so much, Miraj. You mentioned stakeholders. Let's move to another vital part of the vital stakeholders in the education system, the students. So we can bring in Amanjeet Kaur of IIM Bangalore. Amanjeet, can we hear from your experiences of online classes?
Very good evening to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Bose and all of you for giving me this chance to come up and speak and put my views forth about online classes. So as you all already mentioned that there are many advantages, but with advantages there come disadvantages as well. So the main disadvantage for online classes is the network. Okay, not everyone has Wi-Fi, but also network issues. Many people have network issues at their places. Not everywhere in India you have proper network connections. Also, one class consumes around 700 to 800 MB. and everyone cannot afford to use so much net. So we tried to convey this to our teachers, and they came up with a solution. They limited the number of classes to 1 to 2 per day, so due to which we had sufficient internet with us. Also, one of the major disadvantages is lack of social interaction, but pertaining to this situation, that is what we are supposed to do, so I cannot actually count it as a disadvantage. Then we, as hotel management student, practical classes are a major part of our studies, and we are missing up on that. But we hope that IIHM will come up with some solution for those too. And advantages. So all of us are becoming technically adept. Not that we weren't technically adept, but many students who weren't used to technology are now getting acquainted with technology. Then we have many master classes, as Dr. Bose already mentioned. We had a master class with Professor David Foskett. We had the master class with Miss Universe India 2010. She taught us about grooming standards. She told us her life journey. She told us how she came up, and she shared her journey with us, which was really very inspiring. We had a master class with Chef Ranveer Brar, which again practically wouldn't have been possible for him to go to each and every campus individually. Also, we had master classes with Keith Edgar sir, who taught us about spirits, wines, the process of beer making. Also, he taught us how to make cocktails on his video classes. So it has definitely been a great experience, and so many advantages of online classes, because I cannot imagine actually attending these classes personally. We had many master classes which we couldn't even have thought about. So yes, that's all with me.
Thank you very much, Amanjeet. So we'll move on to the professor you were mentioning regarding the masterclass. If we can bring in Professor Foskett, Guru of the Culinary Arts. I don't think today we'll have the time for a masterclass in cooking, but if you could please give us a global perspective of the education in the times of social distancing. Over to you, Professor Foskett.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can.
Yeah.
Can you see me?
No, sir. We can see the wall.
Okay. Okay, just a second. 1 minute.
Sure.
Can you see me now?
Perfect, sir. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to join this very distinguished group. I'm very honored. Can I just say that we live in a different world, and this world is going to change drastically in education because of what we've seen recently and what we're going through. But having said that, I want to reiterate very quickly what was said before. Online learning, and we call it dynamic learning, we launched with my publishers over 10 years ago, a very extensive e-learning packages. Students liked them, but the problem was that the lecturers did not engage with it because they saw their job very differently. They were very traditional teachers. And this is because my age group are digital immigrants. The young people are digital natives. They've grown up with technology. They think differently about technology. Many of them are addicted to smartphones. This is a smartphone. It's what I call the stab and stroke generation. It's very different. And lecturers have to engage with the way young people are learning. The traditional classroom is dead in the water. And I say this because 5 years ago, I validated a university course in Vilnius in Lithuania. And I didn't see one traditional classroom. I went into one classroom and there were no chairs, there were bean bags. And each student had an iPad and they were relaxed, learning from the iPad. And this was revolutionary. And the person that was chair of the validation committee was a professor from Estonia. And she said, Estonia is moving forward in leaps and bounds in digital learning because young people are very much natives. They've grown up with it. If you give a book to a young person, yeah, an 18-month child, that's an iPad that doesn't work. And that's the revolution that we're in. And lecturers have to focus on a new generation of learners that will learn differently. It was a revelation to me yesterday getting onto YouTube, and I was amazed that the number of students that logged in. You wouldn't get that in a classroom. They wouldn't be lining up outside a lecture theatre because they're used to being in front of a computer. And this is not going to go away. If, for example, Facebook was to fail tomorrow, something would take its place. And this is the revolution. And we are in a learning revolution. But the authorities have to realize, and the problem that we have in the UK is the government still have an assessment system that's in the Victorian era. And we have to look at the way we assess students. We have to look at online assessments. Students used to say to me, every year, you ask us to do assignments and reports electronically, and yet the end of year exam is written. Why can't we do it on a computer? And of course, there are implications to that because of cheating, etc. But we've got to overcome those problems because we ask these students all year to actually produce everything by electronically, and at the end of the year, we ask them to do written examinations. That has to change because the demand from students is, we want change. It's coming from the students, and they learn differently. They learn quite different to when I was a student. This is a major revolution that likes of me have got to catch up. We have to catch up. And many lecturers, for example, I was associated with one university in the UK where they've gone all electronic. Everything is electronic, one university. And there was a massive number of lecturers that said, we don't want to be part of this, because they were frightened and they retired, they resigned, because it frightens them. But we have to, in some ways, we have to engage the lecturers more. The lecturers have to go on courses. We have to ease them gently into this revolution, because our consumers, who are the students, want change because they're learning differently. And we have a lot of different now systems that we have to learn. We have a lot of artificial intelligence that we can use. And this is very much the way of the world. So if we're going to survive as lecturers, we have to change. And to me, it's been a massive revolution. I never thought in my wildest dreams that at my age, I'd be lecturing to 700 students online in another part of the world, London to India. And it was like they were in the next room. And this is the revolution. And we have to engage the revolution. We have to look at it as an exciting times. Yeah. And that's the important thing. We have to be with our students and say, this is exciting. This is the way we're going to learn in the future. And I think there is just so much knowledge now and so much in-depth knowledge we all have to take on board. And we have to view it as exciting times. It's exciting that so much we can learn with a click of a button. It's learn, click and learn. Not click and collect, but click and learn. And that's the revolution. And we must engage in that revolution. And it will benefit all, and it will benefit our students and society in the long term. That's what I want to say. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Foskett. From London back to Kolkata, Professor Moitro, Professor Shoykot Moitro. We've heard about being in the midst of a learning revolution. We've heard what problems of connectivity to mindset. What do you feel are the biggest challenges of this sudden and emergency immersion into online learning that we are seeing? Over to Professor Moitro.
Okay, good afternoon to all of you. Many points have been touched upon. Yes, there are many advantages, and over the last few years, we are trying hard for pushing these online education systems. It is not only by our university and our systems, the government of India also pushing that online education systems to a significant extent. Because this setting up online platforms like SWAYAM, NPTEL, spoken tutorial, MHRD virtual lab, in all these projects, the government spent a huge amount of money. But still, the takers for all these programs, till now, before this pandemic situation happened, the takers was not that much significant. Now the situation compelled us to use all these digital resources to the best possible way. What I can tell, even in this disruptive scenario, in our systems, in our ecosystems, we are being able to manage the entire education systems through online programs, through proper connectivity and integrated efforts by all our stakeholders. Now the challenge is different. Challenge is now we need to keep our young generation confined at home, and that is an issue. Until knowledge, because you see, online education has many advantages: immersive learning, peer-to-peer learning, customized learning. All points have been touched upon. But the major problem is here. This main challenge is self-learning, and self-learning is not a very easy proposition. There, you see, very often you may lose interest. That's why in all these online programs and courses, it has been observed statistically, the number of enrollment is very high, number of dropout is also very high. So there, because the people lost their interest very soon after, because this getting this elevation from one level to another, when these assessments and all these things they should be faced, then many times this interest drops down. But here, we have to keep all our stakeholders, these young stakeholders, particularly the important stakeholders, students, to the highest level of their spirit. And there, you see, this is a challenging scenario in this sense. Now, for all our engineering programs and technological programs, this internship, it will not take place in near future for a considerable period. And internship has to happen from home only. You see, this is a challenging situation because we need to design problems and projects in such a way that students will get this skill and all these, these facets of internship while sitting at their home. So this is really challenging, and we are putting our level best to design innovative and creative problems by so that we can engage our students and Another serious situation is going to happen after all this pandemic scenario. We all know that this economic, this disruption and the scope of employment, jobs, and all these things, the situation is going to be dismal. And there, how best we are encouraging our young minds to take up innovative problems, looking in and around of the society, or turning all these problems into profitable solution through startups, entrepreneurship, all these things. There lies our real challenge and test of our wisdom and experience. Here we are trying to engage all of our, these faculties, our thinkers, all those who are associated with us, how to take these problems, how to tackle these problems. Situation is really frustrating, particularly for the students. They are not being able to join school colleges. They are not being able to go for the social this gathering and all these things, and their future is also, we are not being able to show them a right proper this proper future for them. So for this, how best we can engage them through these digital techniques and technologies in innovative and creative activities by taking up those problems which can be converted significantly to start up an entrepreneurial activity. We have to see, we have to do it. And here, I just heard from IH and someone was telling about this, this connectivity and all these problems. The problem is always there. But at the same time, you see, there are solutions in a most agile manner. Even I have seen very senior professors, they are now adopting digital techniques. They are writing on a piece of paper, taking these photographs and taking these videos of these writings and uploading it at social media or YouTube for viewing by the students. So that if you have the proper mindset of applications, then no barrier is a barrier. And adversity, this is adversity always creates, some sorts of, this advantageous situation, because these are the real test of our inner spirit. So this situation we have to overcome by an integrated and cooperative manner. You see, major stakeholders, the students, young students, I would have been happier. Only one, these young students present over here, but we need to get connected with large number of students and to hear from them what is their feeling, how they feel in this scenario, and how best they can be motivated from their own experiences. We can enrich ourselves, we can adapt ourselves, our training as all these things. So this we got next meeting, next webinars of Bengal Chamber of Commerce. You can take up this topic like that, where large number of students can be connected, and they can throw problems, they can throw their their problems and their challenges. And we can enrich ourselves, our experience, and we can align with all these things to take it in a positive direction properly. So this is my view, and let us, this be hopeful that this situation will be overcome in the most positive way, and this may create a new opportunities for our young generation. My belief is that in this country itself, there are lots of these opportunities still untapped, and that is possible now if we go for proper introspection through contemplation. And then engaging our young minds, young students, we have to show them what is the problem, and we have to encourage and inspire them that you can do it, you can solve these problems, and you can take this solution for your livelihood, for your career. These types of work now we have to take it forward through our digital network systems. That is my submission.
Thank you so much, Professor Moitu. We move on to Dr. Debanjan Chakraborty of the British Council. Obviously, nobody needs to underline it more. These are extremely unnatural and challenging times. But overall, how is the British Council in India responding to the rapidly changing education scenario? If you can hear from Debanjan, please.
Hi, can you hear me, everyone? I guess you can. First, thank you very much to everyone, especially the Education Committee of Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry for organizing this. This is very timely and apt. In more ways than one. I was very fortunate to have got an opportunity to study in the UK for my higher education. And one of the biggest benefits is the return on investment is fantastic. I mean, I can cook, I can clean. And as we work from home, we are also working at home and for the home. And those skills that I picked up as an international student in the UK is standing me in very good stead indeed. British Council, as you know, is UK's education and cultural relations organization. We have three major areas of work and thrust. One is in higher education. The second is in English language, which includes assessments and English language for education, employability, mobility. The third is around arts and culture. I will touch upon primarily the higher education, a little bit of the English language side, and our arts and culture work. How are we dealing with the scenario? And my colleague, Dr. Raghubansi, who is the next speaker, will touch upon the learning services side of it, which is more to do with direct learners, on what we are doing on assessment side of things, on our libraries, etc. On higher education, there are two broad areas of our work. One is centered around mobility, the other is around research. Of course, this current situation has put a lot of pressure on the mobility side of the work and is a cause for concern for the UK higher education sector as a whole, but it's not entirely doom and gloom. And we were really looking towards a very large intake this year in higher education for students heading towards the UK, particularly because UK had relaxed the graduate immigration route, and we were already witnessing very large number jump in numbers of students. So 2017-18, we had almost a 19% jump in Indian students going to the UK. And already this year we had seen, till this thing hit, about a 60% jump in student visa applications. We don't know where this will end yet, but we have lined up a number of stuff online and through webinars. So we are providing a number of insights and inputs to the UK higher education sector through webinars and online channels around student sentiment, around the market dynamics, etc. We are providing webinars for enhancing institutional excellence capacity building. And we hope that moving ahead, these webinars will take on a more face-to-face aspect as well. Again, subject missions for specific subjects in the UK, we are providing them on webinars. And webinars on mobility aspects. So students who are trying to apply to UK institutions, we are providing webinars on the UCAS process, on statements of purpose, and these also have dimensions on the research side of things, on UK pre-bid workshops and Newton Bhava as well. We organize a series of great talks, great that's within quote, and this is about cutting edge research from the UK being presented to young students in India, and we are moving much of it to online. And on a more granular level, which is of relevance to this audience, we have been having discussions with the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry Education Committee on very specific hospitality focused subject missions and to specific devolved nations in the UK, starting off possibly with Scotland. Moving on to the English language side of our things, particularly the one that faces the school education system. We work very extensively with the public education system in India. Since 2007, we have trained over 9,000 teacher educators in 19 states in India, who have gone on to train over 100,000 teachers with a possible impact over 35 million learners. We are moving a lot of these resources online, and they are available free. So there are a lot of short courses available for teachers on the Future Learn website. We have a number of self-access courses for teachers and teacher educators on the Teaching English website. And there are a lot of practical resources for professional development available on the Teaching English website as well. We are looking at a number of low-cost, low-tech solutions as well. I think a lot has been said in this conversation already about the fact that online and digital education systems were teetering on the edge of revolution for a long time, and this crisis has given it the push. And I think online education systems need to find its wings and need to fly. But we are also seeing from the public education sector that not everyone has access to laptops, not everywhere is data connectivity and bandwidth equally available. So as we can see here in West Bengal, the school education department has moved its classes to televised classes. So we have a number of solutions in that domain. We have a product called Teach English Radio, which is a compendium of 24 15-minute programs for teachers primarily. We have a number of podcasts for South Asia, teaching English in South Asian context, and they are also available online. We have a global television program on English called Word on the Street that's been produced by the BBC. There are 10 30-minute episodes, and these are quite useful for students and young researchers who are trying, who are applying to UK universities, but also for learning the language in a slightly more in-depth way through immersion. And we have a very interesting product which Shumidda, maybe you had seen these when we were partnering with Anand on these, called Learn English Print. These are newspaper articles or magazine articles, very high quality articles on teaching of English with a number of activities. Finally, coming on to our work on the arts side, there's a lot of focus in our arts work currently, moving it away from showcasing of UK arts only to capacity building and collaboration between the UK sector in arts and the Indian sector in arts, particularly in the area of creative economy, in festivals management, etc. Post-COVID, we had 2 webinars lined up. These were initially planned as face-to-face engagements for a total of maximum 40 participants. But since we moved it online, the 2 webinars had a total attendance of 172 users from 21 different countries worldwide. So I think this particular crisis is also an opportunity. And I think our work across our English language, higher education and arts is demonstrating that. And I think some of the other initiatives that we are taking in the business to customer side of things might be addressed by my colleague Antonius. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Devanjan. So we remain with the British Council. If you can bring in Dr. Antonius Raghuvanshi, the Director of the Learning Services. What we would want to know is what are you doing to address the needs of the B2C sector? That is the learners and the library members and those seeking UK assessments and qualifications. What kind of steps are you taking there?
Sure. Thank you very much and good afternoon, everybody. I think Devanjan's covered quite a bit. What we are sharing here are, I suppose, are examples of how you're responding to the current situation. Obviously, one of the things the British Council has been doing for many, many years actually is we provide the world's largest free resource base for learning English, and more than 100 million people use that across the world. And India is the single largest country that uses that. So our focus right now has been to try and push that out as much as possible to anybody, anywhere across the country. We are, of course, at the same time, moving our entire teaching portfolio of English language learning into the online environment. And we have been teaching young learner classes for primary, secondary, and of course our adult students, and we've just started that. You will also be seeing a full rollout of a summer program coming very soon towards the month of May. So we have a huge database of free resources which we have been providing to the world actually for many, many years, and we are pushing that. And of course now taking our online English offer online, which has been tricky, but it's possible. We have actually had a virtual teaching center which we've been developing in India for the last 4 years. We've been piloting in India for the rest of the world, and that's also now been positioning us and allowed us to actually respond much, much more quickly to the needs of young people in India. As you know, our principal purpose is to partner India's ambitions, particularly young people, in those areas of quality education, skills, and improvement of qualifications. In terms of our library memberships, you know, that is about providing access to UK ideas and about access to creativity, but also allowing people to learn. We have moved, actually in the last 2 years, we have been introducing a digital library, which we have now available to anybody across India. So no longer do we have the challenge where people would say, well, oh, there is a British Council library in this particular part. There is one in Kolkata, yes, but there isn't one in another state. And then you get asked questions. Now we have access to everybody across the world. So that digital library has 13 different databases, and it's very, very subsidized, more than 75% subsidized actually. And you have things like Press Reader there, which allows you to read Indian newspapers, a whole collection of Indian newspapers, magazines. It's got art, theater, drama, study, all our English stuff. And that is also now available across the whole of India actually. In terms of our exams, as some of you would be aware, IELTS exams is the world's big exam qualification for access to global study and access to migration. We have delivered more than 700,000 exams, IELTS exams across, not just IELTS, the total exams across India just in this last 1 year. And we have examinations for schools, for people who are studying at university. And of course, we have aptis, which we provide to organizations. So what we're trying to provide is options for people to take that. We have been, in this particular environment, responding as quickly as we can. So we are doing online marking. We have a full system of registration of online customers for registration, payment, customer service. And of course, we have computer-delivered exams. And some of you may not be aware, but before you could join a British Council English course, you had to go to the center and take a language test there face-to-face. We've now introduced something called English Score, which is an app. And anybody can take that right now for free anywhere across India. And you can check your language level. And it is a full British Council quality assured, well-developed system that tells you your language level. And that's called English Score at the moment. And that is something that's actually rolling out across the piece. What we expect to see out of this entire environment is opportunity to reach a lot more of India than we would have been able to reach before. And we think our ambition in 2020 is to be able to meet via traditional print, digital, face-to-face e-learning, English resources, our programs and partnerships. We expect to meet about 55 million people across India through our partners as well as through direct access. So I would say that's how we very much see this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. If we move back to Britain, Dr. David Graham, if we can bring you in and listen to your thoughts on the current crisis and the way forward.
Okay, thank you everybody. Thank you for inviting me to speak and say a few words. There's a fair bit that's been covered, and some of it is ground that I've also got down in terms of my thoughts as well. From a UK perspective then, what's happened is every university in the UK, 106 of them, closed and moved to online delivery. And some of them was a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. Some brought Easter forward and going to continue teaching afterwards, and some carried on in terms of the usual teaching week and taking things to online delivery. At Sheffield Hallam University, we decided not to bring Easter forward, and we would carry on in terms of how we deliver. I think we had 3 more teaching weeks left to go. And, you know, Sheffield Hallam is a traditional face-to-face and applied learning. And I see there's a number of discussions going about applied and some of the practical work. Applied University, and we moved 30,000 students into remote learning. And these students are doing everything from hospitality, law, nursing, midwifery, and engineering. So a huge piece of work. We use the Blackboard Blackboard platform as our online learning system. So we've obviously adopted webinars, staff have done screencast, posted learning materials, and Zoom's been adopted across the piece for seminar activities. And again, picking up on what David Foskey had to say, Professor Foskey, is that staff who've never worked remotely before have had to adopt such technologies, you know, so it's been a huge period of self-discovery learning, and that's happened in 1 week and 2 weeks in most instances. And I'm just reflecting, but you know, human beings, you know, we are very good at adapting to ways of working, because that's how we've worked to you know, to emerge as one of the as the leading species. And why have we done it? Well, because students are at the heart of what we do. At the backbone of this, it's we want our students to come out with their qualifications. You know, we don't want them to suffer. So even staff that have in the past have said, no, I'm not moving to online learning, have grasped it. And alternative assessment methods have had to be devised, and the traditional exam is a really good example of that. They've now moved to time-constrained essays, and with students submitting via Turnitin plagiarism software, because one of the benefits of exams was you always knew it was the student's work, and particularly in the area of essay writing mills, that's been quite difficult to pick some of that up. But also essays were very good at assessing time pressures and critical thinking within that 2 or 3 hours. But students have always said they struggle to physically write in an exam book for hours at a time using pen and paper, because there's the generation have been brought up with the keyboard and mouse, you know. And for me, it's something to ponder. Will this time constraint electronic essay become the new format, or will we be actually slip back to the old ways of working? The other thing is we are a technical university. Now, fortunately, because we have 3 weeks left to the end of term, that all the practical sessions had actually finished in engineering, hospitality, and the applied sciences. But these are skills which can only be learned through doing. You know, you have all this technology you have, but until you actually use your hands to do something, you're not actually practicing the skills that you're supposed to develop. And that's what the thinking hand is all about. The thinking hand is about that applied knowledge. So for me, the question remains, you know, what part will COVID-19 have played? Yes, it will push us even closer to blended learning and flipped classrooms. It's going to break down boundaries. The global classroom interaction that we're experiencing. Well, this Zoom conference is a good example of it. Overseas institutions be able to work more closely together, will align in terms of our technology, it will become more of the norm. There's going to be some new huge opportunities, but the applied and technical subjects will never be replaced by virtual universities. But what we will see is obviously these new virtual enhancements to the applied nature of these subjects. And I like the expression, what we've all now become is institutions without walls. So it's forced new ways of working for us, which I really embrace. So really, that's all I want to say. And you know, so thank you for inviting me. Sumit, you'll have to turn your microphone.
Okay. I am muted.
I can hear you now.
Can
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. So institutions without walls. On that premise, if we can move to Ma'am Rupkatha Sarkar, Principal of La Martiniere for Girls in Kolkata. Ma'am, how important will it be for institutions like yours to carefully evaluate their remote teaching strategies and capabilities across segments once things return to normal?
Thank you so much for inviting me to this webinar. And Bengal Chamber has organized this at a very pertinent time. At this juncture, I would like to congratulate every teacher, parent, student who have turned this challenge into a success. You know, there is an acceptance for online education, and thousands of teachers and professors and students, and they are venturing into this academic cyberspace. So Goldie Bloomsteak mentioned in the Chronicle of Higher Education that this coronavirus could be like a black swan moment, you know. That is, there is an unforeseen event that changes everything, and it is acting as a catalyst for online education. If you ask me how institutions like ours should evaluate, I would give 3 pointers. Number 1, when we are preparing students and making them future ready, even after COVID-19, are we giving them tools to be citizens in an interconnected world? Are they learning to navigate across boundaries, to leverage their differences and work in a globally collaborative manner? So therefore, this is one guideline that one must evaluate even after COVID-19 on using online education. The second guideline, it should redefine the role of the educator. I am very humbled to be in the presence of such global stellar educators. And it's time, as Sir Foskett had said, that, you know, we people are like immigrant educators in this line, while there are these young people who are absolutely natives. So we must redefine our role. Are we making our students as continuous learners, even outside school, after they have left school? Is there a chance or an opportunity for them to learn in an effective manner? See, I can tell you at this point that our teachers are always, you know, fighting against time to complete syllabus. Now, this will be a great advantage. They will not be limited by time and space. Even after going back home, they can have a class online and complete their assessments. So I'm sure, you know, my history teachers are very happy. They're always, you know, trying their best to complete their work so diligently, and I'm sure they're very happy now. So we are looking at making our students continuous learners. But of course, I have a word of caution here. When we say that, you know, we can use time anytime, we also have to limit and bring certain protocols in place. I have seen that, you know, when you're trying to call them at any time during the day, they will not be made available. And so, you know, that brings me to the next part is, what is the content like? As educators, what kind of content are we presenting? Because we have to understand that we are fighting or competing with that click of a mouse, which allows them to go into Instagram, to go into streaming platforms, to go into Netflix. And here is a poor teacher trying to teach some syllabus. So it is a very big challenge to the teachers. But of course, where there is commitment, where there is a real mindset change, I'm sure these things will come into place. So there are new possibilities. And that brings me to my third pointer, and that is, when we are evaluating these online systems, are we teaching them life skills? Are we helping them to be team workers? We just heard that, you know, there will be a time when even internships will have to be done from home. So are we planning our work in a manner where, though they are in the confines of their home and their space, Yet, are they learning to be team workers? Are they learning to communicate well? You know, I have seen in the space of time within this fortnight, people on digital space speaking as if they have been mummified. Okay, so I mean, you know, we have to learn these skills and teach our children too. So therefore, we are giving them a great power. We are empowering them. And I'm sure with time, this will be a great tool in our hands. Microsoft very recently has given a very interesting statistics. They have said that their online meeting apps, the number of users have jumped from 32 million to 44 million in a day. And in places like China and Singapore, where the lockdown has been lifted, yet the team meetings or the team apps which Microsoft has, even those are being now used in a better way, in a more greater number. So therefore, it's very clear that COVID-19 may pass out by God's grace, yes, but online learning is here to stay, because it is an indicator that the world is moving and we have to adjust to the new realities of learning. So I hope and I wish all my students and teachers the very best. Just try it. I had an online birthday party with people coming from all over the globe last night at 1 a.m. And I was happy to be part of it. I'm sure we'll all learn and we'll all grow together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ma'am, you use the word content. So if I can use that as a peg and bring in Ma'am Rotati Bhattacharya of Shikshayatan Foundation. At the end of it all, what do you think will remain? Will it be a quality enriched online learning, or will there always be a perceived quality gap? What do you feel?
Well, you have to put on my video, I think.
Ma'am, it has already been done. So
yeah, that's, I can see you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening to everyone. And thanks to BCCI for organizing this. I think all these speakers have spoken on the different topics. And lastly, when Rupkata has already said that online classes will definitely remain. So, you know, from there, if I start, that there will be hybrid classes. Hybrid classes, why? Because yes, we need to connect. And today also we are connecting. For a teacher and the taught, what you need is the connection. Now, even through, you know, the social media or, you know, this online, if we are able to connect to our students, then half of our job is done. Apart from that, there are a few things that I would like to touch upon. One is connection. One is the bandwidth. If we have the bandwidth, then we are able to look into that quality aspect. This is just an alternative way of learning. And when we say alternative way of learning, meaning we are not waiting for COVID-19 to happen and then we start this. At Sri Shikshayatan, we have been digital for the last 4 or 5 years. So when we spoke to our teachers and we said, you know, now we're going to just have you know, this online classes, it was just a switch over and it has been very, very smooth. Leaving that, earlier what was happening was that we were taking our students to be just an open slate. And there was mostly pedagogical, but now it is more of constructivism theory that we have to follow. That means you add on new doing is adding on to knowledge. So they are enriching themselves. The course design needs to be a little different. Because today, if I have to go to a destination, which is the learning outcome, the destination can be through going by a train or by a aeroplane. But you know, you reach your destination, but 2 different ways. And there are good things, negative things, maybe challenging things, and also positive things. Now you have to choose a way. So when we are through with COVID-19, COVID-19, and that's going to happen very soon, I'm sure about it. We are just going to take the best of everything, the best practices. What we would request is that there's so many people here that if we can also get resources, that means, we were buying books. I think now what we should have also some resources, which should be available. Like if today all the CBSE or the ICSE, the books are available, on the online, then what happens is that many people would also get to see those resources online and they don't have to go and purchase it. The next point that I would like to make is that what is happening here is that you get organized. That means this is a self-organizing technique, which is again an enrichment. So there are so many enrichment which would be happening with this hybrid learning or blended learning. And when you look at 2030, where people have been saying that India will be having the largest number of youth, and will be the highest number there. So how will you then reach out to those youth? Because if they are the ones, where you have to develop your skills, if they are the ones, who are going to be your future students, then this is one way out, distance learning. The government, what they need to do is that they need to look at, very low cost way of reaching out to people, through WhatsApp or through other mode, because if you have an Android phone and if you can, bring this learning to many people throughout India, then I think we are going to all benefit. And that's, I think what I have to say. And I wish everyone all the best. Let's be safe and make the most use of whatever we have just now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So moving from the teacher to the taught, let's bring in Meghna Basu, class 5 student of Shri Shikshayatan School, the youngest member in this panel, but definitely the most important. So Meghna, if we can ask you, are you missing school?
Good evening, respected teachers and esteemed panelists. I am missing school, but I do enjoy online classes, digital diaries, and assignments. I do miss school, as in my friends, my teachers, and my duties as prefects. I miss my singing competitions and other things as well. So I would like to go back to school again soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That sums it up. So much for the debate about online and classroom. Meghna has spoken. She wants to go back to class. On that note, if we can bring in Chandrajit Banerjee, the founder and mentor of CB classes. Professor David Foskett was the first one to emphasize the role of technology in assessments. Mr. Banerjee, do you feel the use of technology in assessments will be greatly enhanced after this?
Thank you, everybody, for inviting me to this session. It's quite encouraging one. And the best part of it is what, like, we're in a negative situation. That is COVID-19, everybody talked about. But in this forum, everybody has spoken about some positive thing. That's what I like the most. We are just finding out a certain kind of ray of hope in everything, every damn negative things. So now let us come back to this online education, online training, teaching, everything. Just I would like to highlight first one point to you all. Let's see, in the learning procedure, it is all about availability of the best teacher and best content. It is all about the best available things. I mean, I'm there in the profession for the last 20 years, and every time I have seen that we look for the best available thing, be it content or teacher or any infrastructure. But now with the online exposure, we will not settle down to the best available thing. We will go for the best thing, be it teacher, be it the online content, be it the infrastructure, we will go for the best one. No student, no parent will settle down to something which is available to them. So that is the first change we are going to experience after this session. Why I say after this session? Because we are compelled to get into this online education. And when we are compelled to, we are getting taught by someone. We are getting some resource. Now, definitely after this session, we'll go for finding out the best thing available in the market, best thing available online, be it the content, be it the educator, anything. So that is the first change I expect COVID-19. Now, as you rightly pointed out regarding the assessment side, see, in assessment, already a paradigm shift is there. So if I break this assessment into two segments, that we need assessment of the students when the content is being delivered to them, means in the preparatory zone, when they are getting taught. And other one is the end of the session, that year they are taught, at the end of the year, they are being taken, they are exposed to an examination, and they are given some grades based on that. So if I take the assessment during the training procedure, so artificial intelligence have come in a large way to facilitate us in that perspective. So like whenever we are teaching and we feel that students have understood the thing, so now several kinds of reporting procedure are available, and even different companies are offering us different kinds of assessments and everything, where we can assess the students' learning level. We can say, for example, like if the student is getting stuck in certain type of question, so they are repeatedly given similar type of question with the technology. So now after facing the same concept again and again, they are becoming quite strong in that particular domain. So if they can understand their perceived weakness, they can work on that. Even the teachers can work on that. So in that sense, if you take that the assessment side, during the training being imparted to them, during the coaching being imparted to them, so obviously it is going to have a sea change. And if you talk about the assessment at the end of the session, like what we say, final examination kind of thing, certification kind of thing, so that is going to be online. In a country like India, I mean, dealing with such a huge population, so all exams are going to be online. So in whichever, be it objective exams, be it, I mean, descriptive exams. So nowadays, all are shifting to the online mode. So at the end of this COVID-19, or even had there been no COVID-19, we would have gone for this online assessment completely. And AI is going to play a major role in the assessment side. So that's all from my side.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We move on to the final speaker today, Ma'am Aranya Kalia, the Assistant Consultant with Interior Global. Since the focus is on EduTech, can you just shed some light on the need for research in EduTech going forward? Aranya?
Right, sir. So, hello, everyone. It's been really interesting hearing everyone's opinion, and amazing to see how optimistic everyone has been in this scenario. And we at Inturi really think that this is a moment that is really important, where we need to invest in research in EdTech. And I have three reasons why I would say that. The first reason why I say that is that there is a massive shift in how everyone is viewing EdTech. We have seen now students, their families, and the faculty have weeks on end where they can explore EdTech, understand how it works, and become really familiar with it. And I feel that once this situation is over, there might be a shift in their expectations. They might just expect these things from their schools and any other offline educational institute. So that's the first reason. The next reason I will say is that this entire situation has revealed that there is an urgent need for offline institutes to be able to offer remote educational services. And this with it kind of introduces a new area of research as to how do you shift that entire value chain, right from your admissions to your enrollments, holding your classes, assessments, evaluating everyone. How do you shift that entire thing online? And how do you make use of this vast external ecosystem of edtech firms which have now are now operating in India? How do you incorporate their services in your offerings? And apart from remote offerings, how do you incorporate them in your in-class services? And lastly, the third thing I would say is that there is a massive surge of new users on these edtech offerings. Students from really small cities where their schools might not have the infrastructure to move online really fast are using these external platforms. So there is immense need of research about how these platforms can use this information from these new users and upgrade their services in order to make sure that they're able to match the needs of these new users. And how do you do it ethically and securely? I heard someone say that there have been news articles where there have been a lapse in security in Zoom, and how the firm is now making sure that they're able to make their security systems more strong so that this is not repeated. So this is again a very essential area of research that we need to look into. So overall, I feel that these three reasons really strongly kind of indicate that there is an urgent need for everyone, be it an offline institute, an online institute, a student, a parent. They really need to invest in research and understand what this industry will look like once this entire scenario is over. So that's from my end.
Thank you so much. I think we'll rush into a few questions now. The first one is from the Bengal Chamber President, Mr. B.B. Chatterjee. Professor Shoikat Moitro, are you with us? Then I'll direct the question to you. Mr. Chatterjee, the President of the Bengal Chamber, he asks, can the entire syllabus be upgraded or altered to suit the online medium?
I need to look into that. And what that led to was a great collaboration where arts started working with us in our efforts to bring professional development to help teachers who've been trained in other subjects learn to teach computer science in ways that we think will kids.
Is Professor Moitro with us?
Yes, can I hear me? Yes.
Professor Moitro,
yes.
B.B. Chatterjee, the President of the Bengal Chamber, has a question. He asks, can the entire syllabus be upgraded or altered to suit the online medium?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Momentarily, I lost connection. Okay. The entire syllabus, yes, for many of the discipline, we are trying our level best to convert most of the part of the syllabus to online. Taking the help of massive open online courses, taking the help of digital contents, taking the help of learning management systems and video conferencing mode, and at the same time virtual labs. Today we decided that all the virtual labs developed by MHRD in different disciplines that needs to be used to the best possible extent. But still now there are many disciplines. Actually, we are the largest, the university is having the largest number of courses. And for many courses, we do not have the provision of virtual labs. Those basically which have professional programs like hotel management, Suborno Bose and the people like them, they're running these types of programs. We do not have facilities for, this our own repository of online courses. But very soon we will be trying to develop these types of resources for us. But for standard AICT curriculum or programs, right now the mandate is anyhow we have to switch over to online platform. That the mandate came from AICT also, because they are asking the students to be kept at home and engaged with internship problems while staying at their homes, their final year projects while staying at their homes, their labs while staying at their home. So we are trying to explore all the resources which are available at online platforms to the best possible extent, so that our students they can get the maximum benefit from these digital resources at this point of time. We are getting overwhelming responses from all our stakeholders, all our teachers, therefore trying our level best. But the scenario is in many cases, particularly those where You see, for engineering programs, this is not a big problem because we are going for automations and simulation design. This can be a very interesting part, and that can be taken from while staying at home. But for wet lab where this involvement of this handling of chemicals and all these things are involved, there you need to be present at the laboratories. There also we are trying to engage the students in analyzing a large data set which are already available in the form of data analytics and all these things, and whenever this time will be opportune, they can visit the labs to generate their own data. Right now they can work on the data which is already available. Many data is already available, and using these computational programs and all this this coding, how best this data set can be handled. So in that way, in an intelligent and agile manner, we have to there is no other option. We have to keep them engaged. So that is where we are trying a level based, and like you can believe me that from the early morning to the late night, while with me, all my these members of my think tank and all our stakeholders, they are pushing this their efforts to the best possible extent for achieving this feat. And so far, we have managed the situation, but there are still more challenges. More challenges means, as I pointed out, the situation is most of the students, they are some of them, they are suffering from some sort of disengagement or some sort of, you can call it psychological this problem. That is quite natural at this age, at this stage. That is quite natural. So how to engage them, involving them in many creative these problems in short projects and all these many problems, we are also looking into that. We have to do it, and because they are our greatest assets. And right now we are asking everyone to develop their own digital content, because digital content will be required in a huge amount in near future. All our faculties, whatever mode, we ask them to prepare your own digital content, be it a proper video record, be it this photographs, a video recording of some scribbling on papers and all these things, whatever is there. Try to develop it and try to put it, upload it, and we will. And internet bandwidth is also an issue, but we have to use it in an intelligent way by putting all these things in online mode. And whenever this net will be available, they can access, the students can access in that way. And how then keeping this audio and video switched off while the video conference is going on to minimize the consumption of data. So there are many approaches. We are trying we're exploring all all avenues to make it happen. There are challenges, there are problems. The problems will always be there, and solution definitely that needs to be explored. This in that way life goes on. So we have taken this task as one of the greatest challenge, and we were confident to overcome this adversity.
Thank you so much. There's a question for Mr. Simarpreet Singh. This is from Mr. Anirban Datta of the George Telegraph Training Institute. He's asking that if some light can be shed on dealing with the challenges of practical classes.
Can you repeat the question, please?
He's saying, Mr. Anirban Datta of the George Telegraph Training Institute, he's saying that the response of the students to the online classes is overwhelming, but the challenge is of conducting practical classes. So could you throw some light on that?
Sure. There are many platforms available online where the virtual labs are available freely accessible to anyone. So we are asking a student to access them, and while they access them, we are doing a con call with each one of them and telling them the step-by-step process to do it. Suppose at one time 5 students, you're taking 5 students at a time, and you're telling them to log on this website and do the practicals, and after that, we're guiding them one by one to whatever practicals whatever the steps are there, you're telling them how to do it. And in many of the subject, practical labs are available online, but in some subjects where it is not available online, we are creating an online video by the teacher and sending them the notes by WhatsApp or any other platform freely available online. Even if that does not work, we're telling them, giving the option that you can call us, call the teachers, they'll explain on the phone what the step needs to be done.
Thank you so much. There's a question for Mr. Miraj Shah. Miraj, you're with us? Yeah. Regarding the challenges of addressing rural and economically challenged students who do not have access to laptops and smartphones, how do we vault the digital divide?
see, that is at this juncture definitely that is a challenge. But one thing if we see all around us is, as one of the participants very rightly said, that Android phones are seen everywhere in the country. So the penetration of Android phones, which start at very low levels, are, I think, to the basic minimum. And then the content on WhatsApp and all these kind of platforms or open platforms have to come in. And of course, the proactive government has to come up also with free hotspots for Wi-Fi, where these can then enable both of these things to come together, where for them to maybe invest into monthly recurring expenditure on data would not be possible. But some kind of a rationing through hotspots created through Google or bigger organizations can be a solution. And Android phone is something, I think, so which now we see all around India. You know, the price points are from 2,000-3,000 rupees onwards. So definitely that can be achieved.
Fine. Thank you, Minaj. This question was from Rumpa Das, a participant. Another question from a participant, Devoshi Nandi. This is for Rupkatha ma'am. Ma'am, how can we retain the attention of the students in online classes? I think you're on mute.
We are unmuting her. It will take a bit time. It's done.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. See, it depends on the teacher. It depends on the content, how the content is being presented, whether there are interactive quizzes or interactive mode of learning. So it will depend much on the presentation of the teacher. Just like as you're in the class, you know, there are students at the back bench who are always ready to actually be very active. So in the same way at home, they are also there with their distractions. So we have to attract their attention by giving a good content. But more than that, there should be some kind of accountability. Like now when we are conducting classes, we are making sure that if there are 30 students, we make sure that the students are joining. If they are unable to join, we contact them, we ask them what happened. So they also know that our teachers are concerned. So that bit of empathy is also very much required.
Absolutely. Quickly over to back to Debanjan. Debanjan wants to add to what Minaj was saying on the question of the digital divide.
Hi. I think that was a great response from Miraj on the digital question, that it is true that many of these digital devices are ubiquitous. The challenge, of course, is with our public education system in the last mile of delivery. Whilst the devices themselves might be ubiquitous, I think bandwidth is a real question. As we have witnessed when even in big cities, when this disruption has forced so many of us online, we are ourselves struggling at home even with multiple broadband connections. So I think there is a requirement. This particular crisis has forced us to rethink many of our previous investment and platform option questions. What is, I think, emerging across the world is relooking at broadcast technologies for education purposes. Because I was just reminded in the 80s when we were kids, there used to be these television programs by education research media institutes, EMRC they used to be called. Those have virtually gone. Those investments have been pulled back. And I think it's a wake-up call for institutions, particularly public institutions, to relook at what is equitous in terms of technology platforms.
Thank you so much, Devanjan. I think Ms. Rita Bhimani, she was one of the participants. She wanted to convey a point that she's got interns now doing projects on image building through the web. And she feels that we are moving towards a new communication construct. I guess this is across sectors. Everything will be touched by this, and we will have to change the paradigm. Yes, I think a 1 hour webinar has stretched to 1 hour 45 minutes. It's time for me to hand it over to Dr. Subhanu Bose for his remarks.
Well, that was excellent, isn't it? I mean, I think as Mr. Sumit said, we never really thought that it's 1 hour and almost 42 minutes. And then everybody spoke so well. And I think what really came out apart from the content is a huge sense of optimism, a huge sense of innovation, leadership. And I think this optimism will augur well for all of us in these very, very difficult times, very, very challenging times. I think as business leaders, as education leaders, it's very important for us to be together now more than ever before. And I think from the Bengal Chamber of Commerce, I would like to appeal and request to all of you to be together as a group, as a community, as a fraternity, and support each other, because this is the time when we need all of us together. And thanks, Mr. Sumit Dasgupta. It has been absolutely excellent in your own imitable style. And thank you very much for moderating it so nicely. And thank all the participants, and thank all the speakers, and thank once again to Sharbojit and Shaurav for being that two key person behind the scene, for controlling the tech and muting and unmuting us behind the scenes. And thank you everybody, and have a great evening and have a great Easter. Thank you so much.
Thank you everybody.
Thank you. So we are concluding the webinar then.
Right.
And to all the participants, this is Sharbojit again, and from me and on behalf of Saurav, we apologize for keeping you on mute forcefully sometimes. But again, thank you very much for being a very good audience, for keeping your patience and faith on us, and hope you all keep safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We leave here. We can leave.